Chapter 1. The Council of Shadows. The chamber was dark, cold, and quiet. Until now. For the first time in this new world, 3 elders stood beneath the ancient glyphs of the Forgotten Vault, joined by a 4th. Eldritch. He stepped forward, long robes brushing the stone floor, eyes glowing faintly with wisdom forged in time and torment. Beside him stood Ilaria, Veyron, and Selithra, the last of the old blood. "This is it," Ilaria said softly. "The council. Reborn." Eldritch turned toward her, calm but commanding. "It will be more than that. It will be redefined." The glyphs ignited behind him in a deep crimson glow as he raised a hand towards the gathered elders. "But what of Nocturna?" Ilaria asked, stepping closer. "Has he abandoned us? Has the god of our kind forsaken his own creation?" Eldritch's gaze sharpened. "Nocturna cannot reach this world, and good riddance." The others shifted uneasily. "He was never the saviour we believed," Eldritch continued. "The gift of shadow, what we thought was power, was never truly ours. It was on loan, and all loans come at a price. Nocturna gave us power with one hand and chained us with the other." Silence hung for a moment before Eldritch turned towards the stone dais at the heart of the chamber. With a gesture, it lit a flame, not with fire, but with memory. Shadows danced around them, forming visions of the ruined world above. "Look at what has been left behind," Eldritch said. "A world cracked by vengeance, ruled by curses, torn by those who believed they were entitled to take without offering anything in return." He looked each elder in the eye, and his voice rose, not in fury, but in force. "No more. From this day, we build not on conquest, but on creation. We will not take what has not been earned. There is no survival in dependence. There is only survival in exchange. Power must be given to those who create value, not those who demand it. Freedom belongs to the builders, not the beggars." Eldritch's voice deepened, a quiet fire behind every word. "Each elder here will earn their place. Each ally we bring into this world will do so by trade, by thought, by merit. There is no nobility in suffering, only in effort, and no future built on sacrifice, only on strength of self." He stepped forward, shadows bowing away from him like wind through tall grass. This new council, the Council of Shadows, will not serve a god. It will not beg for salvation. It will forge its own. With every act, we will ask, what have we offered in return? That is the only way we will deserve the future we wish to build. The chamber glowed with pulsing light. "This is how we rebuild our destiny, not with the blood of others, not by stealing what was not ours, but by creating something that is. That is true power." The 3 elders stood silent for a moment, awed, challenged, changed. And from the darkness outside, the shadows themselves seemed to lean in and listen. Chapter 2. The Seeds of Tomorrow. The sky above the farmhouse was clear, an almost forgotten shade of blue painted with streaks of gentle cloud. Where once silence and fear ruled, now echoed the sounds of hammers, laughter, and the soft, hopeful murmur of a world reborn. The once barren land surrounding the farmhouse had changed. Gardens bloomed, crops swayed, children ran between makeshift homes laughing. The old fear had not vanished, but it had learned its place, beneath the weight of purpose. Inside the central hall, Tess stood over a wide hand-drawn map spread across a wooden table. Red pins marked known camps. Yellow ones marked supply caches. And green was hope. Ava approached, sleeves rolled, dirt on her hands from morning construction. We've just finished the new water system. 2 filtration tanks. Clean. Reliable. Tess smiled. Amazing. That makes 3 now. 1 for each major section. The hall filled slowly with the hum of community. Jonas, now the lead builder, gave directions outside. Kayla, organising supplies. Mason, once a loner, now laughing with children. Elia, a medic, tending to the sick with gentleness. These were no longer just survivors. They were builders of a new world. Tess turned to face them all. There must be others, she said, her voice firm yet filled with emotion. Other survivors, other humans, people who still believe the world is worth rebuilding. We will find them, and we will bring them home. Ava nodded beside her. Not just home, to a future. Eldritch spoke truth. No one thrives without giving. No more taking, no more waiting. We give our sweat, our skill, our minds, and in return we take our lives back. Tess stepped onto a wooden platform they now called the council deck. Around her the people quieted. She spoke not with fire, but with faith. This is how it begins, not with gods or gifts, but with hands, with minds, and with hearts that choose to build instead of destroy. Trade, not theft, respect, not rule. That is the code of the future. A cheer erupted through the crowd. Far beyond the farmhouse, in the deep wilds of the ruined world, other camps stirred. Tired hands tended small fires. Dirty faces looked up at the stars, and in those cold places something stirred, like a whisper on the wind, a whisper of hope, of rebirth, of a world not yet lost. Chapter 3. The Girl Who Defied Reality. The walls of Mira's hidden laboratory pulsed softly with light. Screens blinked, machines hummed with restless purpose, and cables twisted like vines through the polished concrete, leading to one central console, where Mira stood, motionless. Her eyes scanned the data before her, fingers dancing over the keyboard like a concert pianist in perfect tempo. Equations untranslatable to ordinary minds spilled across the screen. The glow from her gauntlet flickered with each solved problem. Reality bent here, in theory, in vision, in resolve, she muttered to herself, her voice low, but not fragile. Father, you said reality cannot be appeased, that its structure is too brittle, too ancient, but I will find a way. She paused, stared upward into nothing, as if watching time itself tick. Every day, I feel my understanding growing, deepening, expanding, maybe even beyond yours. A soft chime. From a small cylindrical device, tucked beside her console, a blue light pulsed and spun, then unfolded like a digital flower. A hologram of Simon Winter emerged, crisp, clean, still, smiling, a ghost encoded in brilliance. Good morning, Mira, the hologram said, his voice warm, familiar, eternal. Are you ready to get to work? She turned, her heart steady but full. Yes, Father. Then let's make the impossible inevitable. They began. Simon's projection flickered between diagrams, equations, spectral blueprints of entire realities, while Mira calculated aloud, correcting, questioning, advancing. Together, they worked not as teacher and student, but as peers, as visionaries. The reset fractured reality. Simon explained calmly. It created this pocket, a shard of time and space beyond our reach. It floated outside the influence of divine intervention. That's why Lizano couldn't find it. That's why I couldn't. Mira's eyes lit up. That's why it survived. Untouched. Simon nodded. Exactly. This world exists in contradiction, neither fully real nor fully imagined. The only question is, how? Mira's fingers moved rapidly. More code, more maps of dimensional layers. She didn't blink. And once we know how, we can walk freely between them. Simon's face was calm, but firm. Yes, but we tread carefully, Mira. The deeper we go, the thinner the veil becomes. Reality does not like its boundaries breached. One misstep, and the entire structure could collapse. Mira paused. For a moment, her youth flickered across her expression, but only briefly. Her eyes locked onto the data again. Then we won't misstep. Lines of equations blurred into unified answers. In their union, the limits of reality began to falter. What others thought godlike, they merely saw as puzzles. The hologram turned toward her, a hint of something deep in his gaze, even through the simulated light. Pride. Mira looked up, her cheeks brushed with blue from the screen's glow. This is what I was born for. And for the first time, the very fabric of reality quivered, not in resistance, but in recognition. Chapter 4. The Shattered Throne. The cathedral stood silent now. Once a fortress of terror, once ruled by he who remains, it now lay in cold stillness, save for one presence. The Alpha, Mira's companion, the last hope of a lineage lost in time, stood alone in the centre of the ancient stone chamber. Light poured through the fractured stained glass windows, casting his massive frame in hues of red, gold, and violet. And there it was, the throne, not just a symbol, but the source. Carved from blackened obsidian, it pulsed with an unnatural rhythm. Faint whispers of power still hummed in the air, the echo of Lisano's curse. Channeling divine energy to maintain the twisted form of werewolves, condemning them to eternal savagery. The Alpha approached, slow but sure, his claws tapping against the stone with each step. He could feel it, the beating heart of the curse, lodged in the marrow of this throne, the legacy of a god who had abandoned his creations, yet left behind his vengeance. He looked down, then he roared, not out of rage, but release. He reared back on his hind legs, massive paws raised, and brought them down upon the throne with a thunderous crash. Stone shattered, obsidian cracked, power screamed from the broken heart of the curse, and then it happened. A light exploded outward, not bright, but dark golden, like burning twilight. It swept over the land in a circular wave. It did not scorch, it unwound. The curse, woven into the genetic code of thousands, began to disintegrate. Across the world, in forests, in ruins, in burrows beneath the ground, lycanthropes screamed. Their howls twisted, cracked, melted. Claws pulled back into fingers, fur receded, bones reformed. Their monstrous shapes collapsed into human bodies, fragile, scarred, trembling, but free. Eyes that had glowed with feral hunger now blinked in disbelief. Many collapsed, naked and sobbing. Some screamed in joy, others in terror. In the far north, a pack once devoted to tearing flesh now lay huddled, weeping and holding one another. Near the coast, a mother re-emerged from a lichen form and reached out, confused, until a small human girl whispered, "Mama." and ran to her arms. The curse was undone. Back in the cathedral, the Alpha stood before the rubble, the obsidian now dust, the throne no more. He was unchanged, because he was not created by the curse. He was born of the lineage, Dimitri's line, the line of Cedric, the blood of gods, the rage of wolves, and now the hope of peace. His eyes scanned the wind, sensing the change. The energy of Lisanor was gone, completely, irrevocably. There would be no divine reset, no dark resurgence. The curse had no home now, only the true lineage remained. Then he heard them, a tremor in the air, a pull in his soul. They were out there, others like him, not cursed but born, hidden, scattered, silent for generations, survivors of Dimitri's bloodline, either unknowingly or in secret, and now they could feel him, their Alpha, their king. He stepped out into the cold dawn. The sky burned orange above the ruins. Then he howled, not in rage, not in warning, but as a declaration of sovereignty, the kind that travels not through air but through blood, the kind that cannot be ignored. His howl cut through the fabric of the world itself. In cities, in wastelands, in deep forests, the few remaining true-blooded lichens raised their heads. Their eyes glowed, not with hunger, but with recognition. The Alpha had called, and they would come. The new world rises. Months had passed since the throne was shattered. Since the curse of the lichen was undone. The world didn't change all at once, but change it did. Here and there, like green shoots through ash, towns began to rise. Ramshackle shelters turned to cabins, cabins turned to homes. In the valleys, families returned to the land. In the hills, fires burned not in fear, but in warmth. The scars of war still ran deep, but healing had begun. And at the heart of it all, the farmhouse. No longer a refuge, it had become the centre of rebirth, a beacon of trade, learning, safety, and memory. It pulsed with life. Farmers, healers, builders, and thinkers. Tess and Ava, once warriors, were now leaders of a thriving community. The farmhouse was now called the Haven. The elders among them, Elira, Veyron, and Selithra, elders who once fed on fear and hid in shadow, now walked among humanity, offering knowledge and protection. They used their powers not to control, but to assist. They moved between hubs of survival, offering counsel, establishing routes of travel, and defending the fragile sparks of peace. Where once they ruled, they now served. Their strength, a debt paid in action. We are not gods, Veyron would say, but we remember the mistakes of gods. That is our value now. And people began to trust them, slowly, carefully, but sincerely. The cursed, no more. Those once afflicted by the lycanthropic curse awoke into new lives. Most remembered nothing, only fractured echoes of pain and blood. Their minds and bodies were left fragile, traumatized. Yet they were human again, and that was enough. Counseling centers formed, skill schools, small temples. Communities came together to help those relearning language, names, identities. Not everyone wanted to remember. Some simply wanted to live, and they were allowed to. Freedom was no longer a dream, it was policy. A new philosophy. At the core of this rebirth was not just power, but philosophy. Eldritch's Council of Shadows no longer enforced rules. Instead, They helped forge agreements. No elder would aid a town unless equal effort was returned. Trade replaced tribute. Mutual gain replaced blind obedience. We rebuild, Eldritch had said, not through domination, but through earned respect. You cannot take without giving. You cannot rule without service. This is the cost of balance. It was strange at first, unnatural even, but it worked. In the distance, in other places, unknown camps, broken cities, distant coastlines, people looked up at the stars and whispered of a world healing itself. The change in the wind, the silence of the howls, the warmth returning to the earth. Many did not know why, but they felt it, and they moved toward the haven, toward the promise of peace. Chapter 6. The Pulse Beneath the Ashes. 1 year had passed. The world, scarred, rebuilt, thriving, stood reborn. Where chaos had once reigned, now came celebration. They gathered in a field once soaked with blood, now green with new life. Flags flew, not of nations, but of unity. From distant settlements and rebuilt towns they came, farmers, healers, traders, warriors, children, the last remnants of humanity, no longer simply surviving, but living. Standing at the heart of it all, Mira, the architect of balance, her gauntlet no longer a weapon, but a symbol of hope. The Alpha, regal and still, standing tall beside her, the once wild god of fury, now the guardian of peace. Eldritch, flanked by Elira, Veyron, and Selithra, the Council of Shadows, no longer hiding in darkness, but leading from it. Tess, Ava, Jonas and Kayla, now leaders, now legends, representing the soul of humanity. The fires burned high. Children danced under the moonlight. A new world had truly begun. But far away, in forgotten dark, amid cracked stone and tangled vines, a shadow moved. No birds, no wind, no sound, only silence. The figure wore a long coat, torn at the hem. His boots scraped the concrete floor of the long-abandoned military base. It was here, where monsters had once been made, where secrets were buried, where science had clawed too deep, that he had been called. "I sense you," he whispered to the dark, his voice like ash scraping steel. "You called to me, and I have answered." He passed shattered terminals, cobwebs stretching like veins across the ceiling. Dust lay thick like snow. Somewhere a pipe dripped, like the heartbeat of a dying world. He reached a sealed door, reinforced and locked with dead power. No way through. He stared into the tiny glass pane, nothing but blackness beyond. A rat, long dead, lay slumped near the other side. He smiled. With a slow, clawed gesture, he raised a hand. The rat twitched. Its bones snapped, skin sagged, but its legs moved. Its eyes were gone, but it obeyed. The undead creature scuttled toward a nearby control panel and began to claw at a button. Again and again. Click, click, click. Power surged. The door hissed. Locking bolts clicked open. "Clever," the man muttered. "Whoever sealed this place knew it needed to be forgotten." He stepped inside. Lights flickered above. Tubes lined the walls. Surgical chairs. Syringes. Burn marks. Dried blood. A laboratory abandoned in haste and fear. And then he saw it. The body, slumped like a broken doll in the center of the room. Still, unmoving. Dead. The man knelt beside it. I have heard your whisper in my sleep. I have felt your pull through the decay. Time is now. He raised his arms to the ceiling. His voice deepened, vibrating the very walls. Rise. The corpse twitched. Then again, bones cracked, a hand jerked, fingers clawed at the floor. Then the body rose, pale, wrong, but alive, in the way only the dead can be. A smile crept across the man's face, twisted and triumphant. "Come, my son," he whispered. "They tried to stop us. They thought the curse was undone." His eyes burned red. "Now let them know the truth." He turned. "This world will bleed, it will rot, and it will walk